Hi, everybody. I'm immigration lawyer John Kasravi coming to you live for our regular Tuesday 5 p.m. session where you talk half an hour, taking your questions live on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and TikTok. If you haven't already, please follow us on YouTube. Either it's called U.S. Immigration Talk, our channel there, or just look up JQK Law and you'll see us there. But in the meantime, if you have some general questions, we could jump into it here and take your questions live. For general education purposes only, we can't provide individual legal guidance because I don't know your entire case, and we usually have to have a longer conversation to figure all the stuff that's happened in your case. But give you some general guidance. We're here to do that. Please try to avoid asking the same question over and over again. It makes it hard to keep track of what's going on. But having said that, again, I'm immigration lawyer John Kasravi. We come here every Tuesday, 5 p.m. Pacific for, I don't know, 3 years now. So it's like a pretty consistent thing. We always have a great show and a lot of good questions that pop up. So thank you everyone who's joining already on Instagram and on TikTok. A lot of different news is coming up from USCIS, policy updates that are happening that are really interesting. Some stuff in the H-1B space, which is going to be really neat. There's some bad stuff to it too, as always. But then it's just every aspect when you look at different visa types, Child Status Protection Act. There's a lot of nuances in immigration law that are constantly changing. The 2-year residency requirement for J-1 visas. It's really a side thing that people don't think about, but it's there and it caused a lot of confusion and ruckus. But thank you for joining again on TikTok. Usually get a lot of questions there. So first question is always from TikTok. 3Amen says, do I get my interview scheduled right after I give my fingerprint for my F-100? No, absolutely not. You do your fingerprints, and whenever the local field office is ready for your citizenship appointment, I'll do it. I've had cases where we have the citizenship appointment scheduled, and then they do the interview, and then they're like, well, we still have to do your biometrics. So they're not correlated anyway. Headphone says, hi, how long does it take for work authorization to come back after biometrics? That also has no correlation. So biometrics doesn't really have a correlation as to when an interview happened, as to when a work visa is going to be approved. Those are completely unrelated. It's just something you have to do, biometrics, your photo and fingerprints, but there's no correlation between anything happening after that. Mo, what a regulars ask, does tax transcript enough to upload as part of the I-6 Do I need to upload the W-2? You may usually need to upload the W-2 to show which specific income. Let me put it this way. If your tax return, only the money comes from is only from you, then you don't necessarily need a W-2, but you can. But if there's more than one person, like you're married, to show which portion of the income is yours, they'll want a W-2 for that. And Mo follows up, is there any way I can check the waiting time for interviews to become available in embassy or petition embassy? No. Unfortunately, they haven't brought any ways for us to know how long interviews are taking at any particular embassy. You can try looking at Facebook groups. Sometimes people share their own experiences. There's an ongoing lawsuit against the Department of State for various delays, various issues, and the government actually mistakenly, in their defense, said that no, the times are all listed as to how long these interviews take. The times are listed, but on the Department of State website, but for non-immigrant visas, these are for getting appointments, and it's a really stupid calculation. Not even for getting an appointment; it's for when the appointment scheduling window opens up. This is ridiculous stuff. So unfortunately, they're doing nothing to help us. It's a very mean system, but that's what we have. And Mo follows up, God bless you. God bless you as well, Mo. I wish you and your family the best. Nelly asks, after the 90 days on a tourist visa, you get married and your spouse applies for a green card. That may be possible. We do cases like that. Download our guide, the Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide at marriageimmigrationlaw.com. That's marriageimmigrationlaw.com. Some stuff there. Sana says, I have a question regarding marriage green card from a citizen spouse right now. How long does it take roughly for administrative processing? It's different for every case. I just had a case approved at the U.S. Embassy in Armenia this morning. No administrative processing at all. But some of them have 3 months, some 6 months, sometimes 2 or 3 years, and they have to file lawsuits. Dylan says, if a document is rejected, should I just keep downloading it? It's the correct document. Received a I don't know what document you're talking about that is being rejected, or just I'm not sure what references to, Dylan. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, you need a private consultation for that. Real Shot Abias received a request for evidence RFE for the IA-64, the affidavit of support regarding current income for the last 6 months and self-employed without paycheck. What's the best approach? Real Shot, that's like trying to do surgery over the telephone. Now, that's not something I can answer here. You got to consult an attorney in private. And Sana says, thank you. You're welcome. Imran follows, asks, any idea of Barcelona consul, how long it takes for family immigration? There's no immigrant. They don't do that. I don't think they do it in Barcelona for immigrant visa interviews, but the timelines vary. Now he says, can you go back and forth from home as usual? I don't know what you're referencing to. World Boss says, how can a visiting visa get a green card? There's no direct way for you to get a green card, just like everyone else is, employment, family-based, or asylum, or something like that. There's like a buzzing sound here, so I was distracted. All right, so how can we already answered that question. Sydney says, hi to you. Matt Lyon says, why would USCIS request for bank transaction history specifically, not just evidence of a joint account? Because a lot of people open up bank accounts together and they'll put money in it. And for USCIS, that doesn't have value. So if you just send the paperwork that shows that you opened an account, depending on the case, but usually don't, but sometimes they do, they'll want more evidence. So they'll get the transaction to see if you're actually using this account, money's coming in, money's coming out, it's being used for, residential purposes or household purposes, as opposed to just creating an account, having it sit there for how it looks with immigration. Now he says, can you do back and forth while waiting for the green card? If you have advanced parole, yes, or you have H-1B or L-1 or something like that. Cindy says, I was a while back, my husband got his green card. I'm not sure what the question is. Cindy, please redo it. Real Shavi says, if the RFE said this is for final decision, does that mean that IFR will approve? No, it doesn't mean approve. You have to answer RFE properly, and if you properly respond, they may approve it, but it could be denied. It just means that, like, this is your last chance. Shut up, real. Shut up. Ibrahim says, I have a U.S. visa in Portugal, but I don't have entry in Portugal. Will I be able to fly to U.S.? I'm not sure what that means, a U.S. visa in Portugal. You have a visa, you have a visa. Fazim says, hi to you too. World Boss says, how to get a green card? Well, that's a whole long story. Kismedjian says, can I bring my new to high school from Morocco? I think you mean nephew, and they could apply for a student visa for private school. That might be the way to go. Mandy says, my case completed 365 days and 100 I-130, I-45 is pending. It's a marriage-based green card adjustment status. Yeah, they take longer. I have one taking 13 months now. It's like the longest I've had in a while. Michael says, what is the timeline after you submit RFE for a reply? There's no fixed timeline, however long they want to take. How long does it take for asylum approval? 1 month, 2 months, 7 years, 8 years. Those are the real timelines. Because people looking at a question, I did answer a question, Kasem. You got to understand there's like 50 questions in the line, so we'll get to you. What's your education? Don't mind me asking. I went to law school and I'm a lawyer. That's it. Can we apply for asylum after we got our work authorization? If not, when a parole can apply? You got to look at your case, see what's going on if asylum is appropriate for you. Yeah, it says, can asylee marry an alien after approval and bring them to the U.S. before getting the green card 5-730? I think you have to have been married before they granted asylum to do an I-730. If not, you'll have to file for them as a green card holder. I haven't done this. We have this particular similar kind of case, but I'm not working on my office. I don't myself particularly deal with asylum cases too often. So that's something I have to research for sure, but I don't think you can. You'd have to get the green card, then file. So it's going to take forever, essentially. Javi says, do I need to fill all my beneficiaries' info on my I-64 if I'm using a joint sponsor? You just fill out the form properly. I'm not sure all your information is name and like phone number. It's not that much information. 3M says, how long would it take to bring my girlfriend from Germany to USA and is getting married make fast? That's a larger thing that would need to be discussed. You can't just, come to the United States with the intent to apply for a green card. It is faster if you're doing in the United States generally, but aim download my guide. It's called the Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide. You go to marriageimmigrationlaw.com. I'd recommend going there first and get the information that you need to start. Ali says, F100 interview in 2 months. Is it usually this quick? Yeah, sometimes it gets really quick. Recently, I had 2 months is here in San Fernando Valley field office. That was one of the Chatsworth field office in Los Angeles. But they have other cases that take a year, so it's all over the place. Lady K says, hi to you too. Imran says, any idea? Already answered that. Jordan, if you have a felony, can you still obtain a green card? Well, it depends on what the felony is. It's going to be hard to probably, but it depends on what the actual felony is, what the rules and regulations were, what the conviction was, all that kind of stuff. If you can't just saying you have a felon doesn't give me enough information to be able to guide on that. Nadia asks, Haroon, my mom applied for her brother and he passed away. Can his wife and kids come with that petition? I'm sorry to hear about the passing of your brother, and unfortunately, no. The primary beneficiary has to be alive and come and get the green card as well. Mustafa says, sir, I have a question. How does it take for asylum approval? How long you're probably saying? And there's just no timelines in there. What's your prediction on DACA? I don't give predictions. Sayed says, actually, we got another question on Instagram. Gio Kandagonza says, I have my interview for citizenship next month. I've been waiting for it during 1 year, 4 months. My husband should go with me. If you have an I-751 pending, he should. But if you have a 10-year green card, that's not needed. Sayed says, how long does it take for marriage-based green card for a PR spouse? It's taking years. They potentially 6-7 years. AFA says, I have a question. I submitted my wife's I-751 in December of last year, almost a year now. How long? The year, 1 month, 12 months, 18 months. I don't know. Michael says, what is the timeline if you submit RFE US supply? There's no timeline there. Nina says, how long can they take to respond to your green card for marriage? However long they want. There's no maximum time. Rubicon says, I filed for my wife's I-130 on January 2022, and I haven't heard anything back. To 2026 is when I can send a request. You probably are a green card holder, so they're just taking a long time on those because they're really backed up. AFH says, the processing time on those right? No, don't rely on any processing times given to you by the government. Lady K says, do you know how long it will take for the first process K1 visa? Probably 18 to 20 months. I don't usually recommend people do fiance visas. They're taking longer than marriage cases. Rubicon, I answered that. Okay. Baby Ronald says, I'm a green card holder. Can my Canadian spouse come and stay here and adjust status? We have 2 small kids together with a green card as well. Maybe not. You can't come with the intent to do that, so no. But if they're here and change their mind, maybe possible. But there's issues with the timelines for green card holders through green card holders. So if you're U.S. citizen, is one thing, but if you're a green card holder applying for your spouse, there's issues regarding timelines in the visa bulletin, when you could file certain paperwork. So anything I say now could be different next month because the rules change month to month on that right now. So there's no exact answer, but again, I can't recommend someone enter the U.S. with a tourist visa with the actual intent of applying for a green card. Muhammad asks, hey, I'm document qualified for 6 months now. CR1 Mumbai Embassy. They send to ILF, not me. Yeah, I mean, Mumbai is taking 6 to 9 months. You'll probably get it soon, but sometimes it just doesn't work out that way. It's pretty bad. Annalisa Scotter says, how difficult is it for Mexican software cloud engineer to get a TN visa? It's not too difficult. The problem with engineers in the computing space is some people in charge, some government officers will say a software engineer is not the same thing as an engineer, and they hassle you. But that sometimes happens, unfortunately, but most of these get approved too. So it depends on your background, your education, who the employer is, all these different factors, and how well the case is, and luck. So it's to say how difficult it is. And people are getting it every day. It's something you have to do and get. And your degrees in engineering, which is really good, but then I also look to see what the work is as well. Antonio asks, I've done immigrant processing since 2018. So far, I've done biometrics 2020. Why is it taking so long? Antonio, I don't know what kind of case you have. Jupai says, can I get my citizenship after expunging my records? I don't recommend people expunge your records until after they're citizens because the immigration department does not recognize expungements. And by doing that, you destroy the official record most of the time. So then the government's like, well, give us a copy of the original record, and it doesn't exist. So it's very unwise to do expungements until you get citizenship. Unlimited says, how long is green card process? For some people, it's 3-4 months. For some people, it's 25 years. You have to be more specific. And then even with that, I can't give real good timelines. So here, a question, what's the processing time for I-751 forms? 3 months to 3 years. User 7 says, if a case is denied at court and pending a BIA, but 10 years complete in the USA, can we still do something? I don't know. I don't handle court cases. So you're looking at cancellation or removal or something like that, but I don't do those cases. What is the timeline for I-618, please? Unfortunately, it's 2 or 3 years. If my husband's paroled and after crossing borders, is he eligible for AOS US? I don't know, Matt. To say someone's eligible for something, you got to look a lot more than just their entry, which is an important part, but I can't give that information without talking to your spouse. Giancarlo says, thank you. You're welcome. Lloyd says, why is the NBC taking so long to schedule appointments, interview in Qatar? It's not the National Visa Center taking so long. It's the U.S. Embassy is taking a long time. So they just give their schedule to National Visa Center, and that's it. So unfortunately, the embassy is taking too long. Moon says, I have a family who won the lottery in Somalia and no one is contacting them. I think it's Somalia where they just say we're not going to do interviews for these people, but you got to try to pressure the government in some way or fashion. Yasin says, can I withdraw and approve asylum application? I don't know. I don't handle asylum. I'm not sure why you'd want to withdraw it at this point. You're already on the record. Shiba says, what's your prediction for DACA? We're going to answer that question. Can I renew DACA if a felony case getting dropped, take pre-trial cases? I don't know. We got to analyze what the specific case is. Just that's not information. You got to get the court records, police records, all this kind of stuff to see what happened. The possible police says, do you think my husband in administrative processing waiting in Iran since her interview still has a chance? You still have a chance as long as it's not SEPA or IRGC. It's just that at this point, you probably should just file a lawsuit in the government for delay. Is probably what you should do. Sylvia says, can I renew DACA? I already answered that question. Abdul says, hello, I have a green card. I want to fly to Turkey. What do I need? Your passport and your green card. and maybe a Turkish visa, depending on the country you're from. Unlimited Air says, I applied for adjustment of status. I already received my EAD and asked for my medical to be sent. Responded exactly. I still don't know what kind of case you have a limited air. Do you have an I-130, an I-140, asylum-based, marriage case? Well, you married to a green card holder, you married to a U.S. citizen, unlimited air. Mohammed asks, thank you. Why are the ways to push the embassy, other embassy inquiry? Sue the government. That's pretty much the only thing that's somewhat working right now for delays. Erika says, my 2 daughters got their passport from me. Is there any way to get naturalized? If you got your passport, you're a citizen. Who are you talking about? Like, your question, Erika, I can't put it together, because if they got their passport through you, you're already a citizen. That's what you're saying. So you don't need to naturalize. It's not clear what's going on. Afghan Mustafa says, my family's Afghan Pro I-130 case are approved. How long does it take for DS-260 to complete? The form DS-260 doesn't take much at all to complete. It's up to you to complete if to go do that. It's about the embassy, what kind of scheduling they have. So contact the embassy and try to work with them. So there says, yes, sir, married U.S. citizen. Yeah, those take anywhere from 3 months to a year on average. Meadows says, how difficult is it for you to answer that question on Instagram? I'm not sure if it's the same question we asked here. Blair says, how long is usually an advanced pro? Is it only one travel thing, or it depends on what you ask for? Usually it's multiple travels. I think they're going to start issuing them for 5 years, but I'm not sure. It's changed rules. How long are I-601 cases taking? The I-601's taking like 2 to 3 years to review. Abdullah says, I have a green card. We answered that question. You're welcome, Limited Era. Said Ahmad says, will you file my I-130? Contact the office so I can review it so I can see if I can do it or not. Schedule a consultation. info@jqqlaw.com. Devil Jezel says, I heard they're waiving green card after approval of WAWA. I think you mean the interview, but they don't waive a green card. I'm not sure what you mean by that. How can you get a social security number? Well, you have to have some sort of work authorization or special visa to be able to get a social security number most of the time. Can I adjust my status if I live with my spouse in public housing? There's more to it to see if you can adjust status. But as long one important factor is you didn't commit fraud and lie to get the public housing. But there's other stuff that's to be looked at. Muhammad follows up for mandamus petition. How much will it cost? Does it have any long-term consequences? Petitioner, single person versus government sounds scary. No, it's kind of customary now. So filing lawsuits shouldn't be scary. How much will it cost? Depends on the attorney. 3, 4, 5,000, 10,000. If the government wants to fight it more, it's all over the place. You got to have a private consultation about the potential risks and stuff. Me says, what are the best ways to get a green card as an F1 student? Probably finding an employer that's going to hire you and go through the green card process, or just getting married with a classmate you fall in love with, which is what we typically do. We have a lot of cases where people fall in love with their classmates and get married, graduate students in particular. But other than that, if you have extraordinary ability, you're really top in your field, potentially a national interest waiver, there's different ways to do it. We do it all the time. And then Sylvia says, do I answer that question? Omar says, can I enter the States with immigration visa and leave the States before I receive my green card? If you enter on an immigrant visa, it's not called immigration visa, immigrant visa that leads to a green card. Once you enter your visa is stamped, and once it's stamped, the visa becomes acts like a green card for 1 year. So even if you leave before the green card arrives, you could use that visa stamp for work and travel for 1 year period. How long does it take for an I-130 case? Well, it depends on what kind of I-130 case you have. If you're married to a U.S. citizen, parent or child of a U.S. citizen, probably take around 12 or 13 months. If you're brother or sister of a U.S. citizen, the I-130 portion could take from 2 months to 10 years for them to even look at it. But for those, you also have to look at the visa bulletin to see how long it's actually going to take. And then there's different combinations of family members. So you have to be specific in what you're looking for, but any timelines they give you doesn't really make a difference because they just make things up. So they'll just, the waiving probably probably will, but it depends on your case. How long does BIA takes for hearing for asylum case? Now by court, however long they want to take, but I don't handle removal cases or asylum, so I don't want to get too much into that. Let's see, can I renew? Okay, we got a lot of repeat questions popping up. Invite. Okay, I invited. I have a green card. I want to fly to Hi. Gloria says, hi, Gloria. I just sent you an ad. We wanted to do this. When does it have timestamps on this? Sylvia says, can I renew DACA? Or you answer that question. Can I enter the states with the immigrant visa? Or answer that question. One says, you're wonderful. These are some guys on Facebook who fake your name and have your family pictures. Please control them. I came to know about your name through the scammer. Unfortunately, there are a lot of these scams, and I can't do anything about them. Hey, Gloria, you have a little picture on my screen.
How are you?
I'm doing good. For those not watching on TikTok, we have a wonderful colleague, Gloria Cardin. What? I gotta get your full last name. What is it? Cardenas. Okay, Gloria, great immigration lawyer. I've been trying to connect and do this, but I got 3 small kids that don't sleep at night, so I'm pretty much in a daze most of the time. I'm glad we just randomly got to connect on here.
Yeah. Nice to talk to you. Yeah. I'm at home because I'm kind of under the weather, recovering from COVID.
Oh,
but
boy.
I saw your live, and I thought it'd be fun to answer questions together and give my thoughts too.
For sure. So let's jump into it. I'm live on YouTube and LinkedIn and stuff too, but I think they could hear us, so it'll be okay. The question, sometimes we need a lot more information, but let me just randomly choose one really quick. Taufik says, what would happen if before the conditions removed on a green card, interview for citizenship interview comes up? This is pretty much a common scenario now when someone has an I-75 on removal conditions pending and citizenship comes up. It's a good way to fast forward things. You deal with offices, Northern California a lot, Gloria, and you're also Utah. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. So I've had a few of these, and you're right. It's a great way to speed up the adjudication of the I-751 because they're taking so long. So as soon as the person has been married to a U.S. citizen, had the green card for 3 years, we'll file for naturalization. And then I've had interviews where the husband and wife go, the officer will adjudicate the I-751, approve it, then move on to the naturalization.
Yeah.
And the same.
I had one case where the I-75 was pending, citizenship interview happened, and like the day before the citizenship interview, the I-751 got approved. I'm like, oh, that's nice. Okay, so you go to the interview, and then the officer's like, I would approve you, but we don't have the case file. It's still at like the service center or wherever. So they hadn't connected the files yet. So it took like 3-4 months of the files to get together for them to finally approve it. I kept to write letters and complain and stuff like that. It was very kind of annoying. I'm like, just send it to the field office for them to adjudicate it. But they decided to retain one portion of the case. So when you get citizenship, yeah, you got to like the whole case files to be in one place because it's going to close it up. So that's
That was really bad during COVID because the A files were literally down in like a tunnel, a dungeon, whatever, and the workers couldn't go in to obtain the files.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really hard because in order to get naturalization, they have to have your whole A file. But so that's a nightmare.
Yeah.
But it's been really helpful for my clients. They're like, wait, I can file an I-7. I filed the I-751. It's pending, and now I've been conditional resident for 3 years. That means I can file for naturalization, even though they haven't filed the I-7. They haven't adjudicated the I-751. And I'm like, yeah, you can do that.
Yeah,
and that's a great way to do it.
I've seen people post videos saying, unfortunately, immigration lawyers saying if the I-751 is pending, you can't file for citizenship, but it's just not the case. So important to just be aware of that. Now, one of our viewers said they found out about me based on a scammer on Facebook who's made profiles and take my family photos, act like they're me. Unfortunately, that scammer's making a lot of money. I get emails from them regularly. And Gloria probably see this on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, and YouTube. All these things. These scam accounts open up, particularly on Facebook, and they pretend to be me and take all our information. And no matter how much I try to take it down from Facebook, after many tries, they eventually take that one page down. Then within half a second, a new page just pops up. So you got to research your attorney, find the actual email address, the actual person. And we, at our firm, we have it where we do only video consultations. We always see a video of me or one of my associates. You're talking with the person. There's no just, phone only and stuff. You just got to weed out this kind of fraud that way.
I've had, like, for 3 years I've been on TikTok, and I've probably had hundreds of people that need to be me. And actually now TikTok, I've done so many complaints that they're starting to filter those people out. But, it's always good to either call my office, or call John's office, or, you can Google anyone. You find their legitimate office, and yeah, it's great to. It's just I've had many people that are like, wait, I thought I was talking to you. They wanted $500. I'm like,
yeah, that's
really?
a number.
My consultation and $500 is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's an out of control situation, and it's just heart wrenching because in particular they go to these Indian Pakistani groups who have long delays for their interviews, and they promise them they're going to expedite and stuff, and they send the money, and nothing happens. They lose a chunk of money. If they just research the person. Everyone knows how to investigate nowadays. The internet, so just like when you meet somebody, go on the internet, see what's going on, see what the person, who they are, and just find the legit number, double test them. Just because they have a Facebook profile, these free profiles, it's not something that's like hard to get. So we got a rush of questions come in. Especially on TikTok, there's always so many. But let me just randomly pick someone on YouTube. One of our regulars, Perry Andrew, says, can a performer or singer hold more than 2 O1 visas at the same time for the same job at different employers? Would filing for a third O1 affect or cancel valid O1s? I don't really do O1s myself. Another attorney does, but you probably do is just update your itinerary, I'm guessing, instead of just doing 2 O1s. Because you could have, it depends on how you've structured your O1, but I'm guessing you just add that as an itinerary. But I don't know, Gloria, are you big on O1s? Is that something you want to get into?
I've done many O1s, but I don't understand. See, what I'm concerned about is why they would need a third one, like you're saying, John, and why wouldn't they just combine the O's that they have?
Yeah, that just makes sense. I have so many categories, and that's just right for problems to happen with the deal at the Department of State later or something like that. So it'll try to avoid something like that. Okay, so another question that we have, I try to avoid these timeline questions, but how long is the process if I'm an international student over 18, my dad files for me? Well, if you're it's kind of a weird situation. Your dad a green card holder or citizen? Because if they're a citizen, you got to look to see if you're maybe already a citizen. But we need more information on that. Let's see. It's another.
Lots of questions, Sean, on TikTok Lives. I've been watching a lot of other lawyers, immigration attorneys doing TikTok Lives, and they really do an injustice by kind of giving wrong information. Like you've been saying a lot. Like, I don't know, I got more about your case. I don't know. It could be 1 year to 5 years.
Yeah.
And the reason why you're saying that, John, is because you're a good lawyer, and like me, you have to have a consultation. Like your consultation is probably very, very reasonable. Mine is too. And that's because we're going to look at everything. The only way to do an immigration case is to know everything about their immigration history, everything about criminal history, and family relationships in order to really do well for our clients.
Yeah, there's just so many little places that problems could happen. A colleague just told me he had a consultation with a woman who, like, the government messed up and gave the green card incorrectly like 7 years ago. And then when they filed for citizenship, they realized, oh, it was by an error. Now, if you're an immigration lawyer, this might have been hard to catch too, but you got to track the whole history of the person's immigration file, when certain things happen, maybe do a freedom of information request. It's it's like going to a doctor, getting x-rays, MRIs and stuff. You may not be sick, but sometimes if you're, somewhere hurts and you can't see it to the face, you got to do all these tests and spend time with the doctor and blood tests. It's the same thing we got to do too. We don't want to send someone out to the wolves to get eaten. So you got to protect yourself. That's what we're here for.
And I did a lot of removal proceedings defense for 13 years, and I had 7 clients that had their green cards filed to naturalize by themselves without a lawyer. The USCIS said they weren't entitled to it, but they made a mistake in giving them. They got placed in removal proceedings. They didn't get their citizenship. They got placed in removal proceedings. They still are a resident until the judge takes makes a final order. But their life was living hell. So every time I meet with someone who wants to naturalize, I go into I think 10 or 15 minutes about, okay, how did you get your green card?
Yeah.
Well, why? I have my green card. No, I'm not acting crazy. I'm asking you who applied for you, how you got it. Did you come into from the consulate? Did you adjust status? Who filed for you? What was your prior immigration record? Because I want to be confident if I filed to naturalize that they're not going to be in that situation that is living hell.
Yeah. We have a question from Jenny here. How did they make a mistake in giving the green card? I'll give another example. A woman we're working with right now. She was here in the U.S. doing adjustment of status for marriage, and then she got in an argument with her husband, and they decided they're fighting. So she just left the country while the case was pending, without what's called advance parole. So she abandoned her case. come 2 months later, they just approved the green card, no medical, and already abandoned. USCIS doesn't even pay attention. They didn't even do the medical checkup. They didn't send it in, and they approved. So now it's like, well, I'm outside the US. What do I do? And I'm like, well, maybe you could try going to the border and be paroled in with CBP and then ask to be readjusted or something like that, which is not the strongest thing. Or file a formal abandonment of this green card, but say it was incorrectly issued, then go the long way around I-130 consular processing, which is going to take years probably. So it's just that person had an attorney too. An attorney giving bad advice.
That's insane. I mean, that's a situation. Like as lawyers, we can't give them bad advice. We can't give them advice how to break the law, and that is essentially what that person's like. Well, how do I come back? Do I just have the green card mailed to me and I just come in? No, you can't do that. And it is really messed up that the U.S. government makes a mistake and then it's on the immigrant. That's not fair, in my opinion. And that's why it's really,
And I told them it's going to be more difficult, more issues, potentially use the green card to get on a plane because they might not board it. But when you reach Customs Border Protection, you immediately say, hey, this green card is not valid. I request to be paroled in, and they can make a determination. Just don't lie to any government officials and say, listen, because at the end of the green card was issued. So your earlier reference reminded me, they nominally have a green card, so they have potential of going to immigration court and having a judge decide it. That's a messy process. It'll take years to actually get the court hearing. You might get paroled in, and just it's going to be such a mess. So it's probably still going to be smoother. Just refile a new I-130 with consular processing. But it just goes to show the government makes these mistakes all the time. You got to catch them. And we more and more, especially employment-based cases with the craziness of the visa bulletin, I'm constantly getting people who had their green card issued when the visa bulletin wasn't current. And sometimes there's an argument that the government already held their visa number to the side, so to issue it then. But sometimes it doesn't make any sense. Like the visa was never current, so why are they issuing green cards? And a regular person should just be happy, but then we're like, no, this is going to be a problem down the line when they realize it. It's frustrating. So that's why it's really good to have someone really on top of it.
Right, and like if I consult with somebody and I through my own research and the consultation, and I find out that they weren't entitled to their residency, okay, good. They can walk away and never file for U.S. citizenship. Right, but like it's good that they spent the $100, which is literally like gas in a truck, to know to prevent the whole nightmare of literally being denied citizenship, spending all that money, getting placed in removal proceedings, having to do the whole proceeding before the judge, and likely it is that they can't readjust, and then they have to ask for voluntary departure when they could have just kept their green card.
Yeah, it's a complete nightmare. And then people call me when they have that, just like nothing. If you just kept your green card, no one would have been the wise. Just leave your life, and that would have been okay. And not okay, technically violation, but like you have it at least. But there's no need to spend the money and time for citizenship, naturalization. So it's just, that's what we're here for, is really just, we got to, for these kind of cases and for all cases, people always like, I don't need a consultation. Just tell me how much it costs. We're like, I can't just say, okay, this is a surgery. I got to check you out. I got to see what's going on for your own sake. And sometimes we have it where we just can't file a case. So like, listen, it's not recommended we do this. It doesn't matter what my prices are. It's just like not possible because you have, this violation in the past, or you have false claim to citizenship in the past. And if we go forward with it, you're going to get deported and banned for life. So you got to really be mindful of that. Gloria, one question popped up is, do you know if they're letting Israeli and Lebanese citizens into the U.S. via humanitarian parole, similar to Ukrainian people, or any other method to get them in the situation? They don't have a program like that. Lebanese are pretty much out of luck. Humanitarian parole exists, but it's so tough to get for those kind of situations. Because a lot of people from Afghanistan, thousands of people are waiting, but give it a shot. The one thing for Israelis, though, is they fast forwarded the visa waiver program. So at least for 90 days, they could come to the United States while this is all happening for Israelis. Lebanese, unfortunately, are probably going to be out of luck. You could do a humanitarian parole, but what are you seeing? Have you been filing any humanitarian paroles? We have one pending for an Iranian woman. It's pending for 6 months, and really, she's on the verge of being killed, frankly, and the government just doesn't care or won't even adjudicate it. But have you filed any of these recently? I'm really pessimistic on humanitarian parole. I've seen it work, but I'm pessimistic.
I've only done one I've consulted many times. I've only done one humanitarian parole, and it's pending. But I tell people, like, usually it's like if they're from Mexico, the Mexican consulate has internal lawyers that are probably better for them to do humanitarian parole than through a private lawyer, because they tend to prevail, where I don't prevail.
Yeah, I've seen it. There's sometimes where I tell my clients it's better you just do this alone, not have a lawyer. You know, I hate saying that because, like, you know, giving advice, not being on the hook for it or prepare. But like, for example, I've seen sometimes for expedite requests when people call on their own, it seems like it's working more than when I call on their behalf. So I said, listen, call them. They might just be nicer about it because the lawyer's not calling. I don't know if there's consistency in that, but I've like, because it's extra work when you charge for it. So I tell people, here's what you need to do. Call this person the phone number. This is what you tell them. Because sometimes we'll be on the hold on the phone for like 2 hours. So it's not an easy thing to get just because of how bad the government is. But yeah, those are things that, you know, Humanitarian Pro expedites. You got to try it out. It may work, but it's getting harder and harder to get any of this done.
Yeah, I always tell people with respect to expedite, unless you have a very strong case, like a minor is left in their home country without parental supervision, terminal cancer, it just, the whole thing. And I think that with social media, I actually think a lot of lawyers have done people an injustice by saying, oh, we'll just expedite, we'll just request expedite. No, you and John and you and I know, for being lawyers for as long as we have, it's very rare that they expedite. Very rare. I think in Ciudad Juarez, out of like all of last year, they expedited 3 cases.
Yeah, dude, when you're doing a consulate, it's like 0.1% kind of thing. And now, you know, I look back because I did a series of videos on expediting and they got a lot of views. So I was happy. But looking back now, because everyone's expediting, it kind of overwhelms the system. So I do kind of semi-regret. People have to know, but I semi-regret it because it just is overwhelming them where they're just like inundated with expedite requests. And I think they just get numb to it, or they just too overwhelmed to care. Because we have some really sad situations where they just don't care. I'm like, oh my God, this person's child's dying. The child sickness does help out. That's usually a big one. But I've had it where people just needed medical attention and they just didn't expedite. Eventually, we had to get a congressperson. Sometimes that works. Less and less do congress people work. 10 years ago, I could have got any expedite I was done because I think they weren't as busy and they had more staff. Now it's I just
because they're so bad, John. They're so backlogged because of COVID. They're still trying to catch up. So that before COVID, the whole idea of expedite, I think, was really good.
Yeah.
But now, because it's so backlogged, they want to get people that are through the backlog through versus putting people up front of those people that maybe have waited 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah, it's just a weird situation. The way, like they said, by I think October 2023, right now, their timelines for like an I-130 for a marriage case is going to be 6 months. Everything's going to be 6 months. But what we've seen is I-130 petitions for immediate relatives taking 12, 13 months. I-129F for fiance visas taking 15, 18 months. The fiance visa is just dead. There's almost no reason. Very rare cases where it makes sense to do a fiance visa anymore with these kind of delays.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm telling all my people that consult. First of all, I say, hey, are you guys really serious about being married? Absolutely. Okay, you have no reservations. Great. Then just get married. Yeah. Because, like you're saying, John, because before COVID, the fiance visas were going really quickly. Mm-hmm. But after COVID, they prioritized people that were married to U.S. citizens. And that made sense because, like, you're not going to separate and make people, be separated for a long period of time if they're actually married versus someone who's just dating and wants to marry.
Yeah, so people, because a lot of people, there's old information on the internet because it doesn't get updated sometimes. And they're like, well, fiance visa hurts faster. I really want to do fiance. And I have to like spend 10, 15 minutes during consultation and say, no, this is the wrong way to go. You're going to wait longer. You're going to pay more. There's more government interactions, so more government fees for fiance visa. And essentially, you're dealing with forever. Just get a tourist visa, which is to come here to get married. So it just makes sense. And to make it easy, because I used to have clients go and get married overseas, which could be a big headache, because they need a single certificates and documents, this and that. The new thing where you get married through Zoom in Utah and Montana is the best because they're just dealing with U.S. registration, which is very simple with an ID, as opposed to like, I remember one couple wanted to get married in England, and their rule was you have to be in the UK for 30 days as a foreign person before you're allowed to get married. And it's like, I can't take a month off work just to get married. Or in Turkey, we have to get single certificates, and the U.S. Embassy there helps. They'll notarize a statement that says you're single. But you got to get an appointment date with the embassy. You got to go back and forth. It's like, why deal with that? Just get married online. We've had approvals on these, so we know it works.
Because I remember posting that because I'm I have one of my offices in Salt Lake City, Utah, and when that came about, I was posting a lot about the virtual license, virtual certificate.
Yeah.
You don't even have to be in the city of Utah.
It's crazy,
and it's helped so many people, especially like people that are LGBTQ, and they're not allowed to legally marry in their foreign country. This is where it's really helpful.
Game changer.
And the only time I ever want to do the fiance visa is if the person that they're going to be married to has a lot of children.
Yeah.
In that situation, it's more affordable for them all, because kids are under 21 and unmarried can all come into the U.S. with their parents. So in that situation, it makes sense for a fiance visa. Any other way, it doesn't.
Pretty much, yeah. It's only that you said it. It's a children's case, and there's one weird nuance where, like, if you're doing a marriage case and there's stepchildren, if the marriage occurs before they're 18, potentially the step parent could file an I-130, get the case started. It's a separate case, as you said. It creates separation. But if you're engaged and you want the future stepchildren, the fiance's children to come in, the rule is the children have to enter the United States with their K2s, K2 visas before the age of 21. So if you're getting married with somebody who has a kid that's 19, if you get married, they're not going to be part of the case. They can't. The parent, the biological parent has to file for them when they're green card. It's going to take forever. But if you do the fiance visa and the kids are 18, 21, you get them in. It's a weird, weird thing that popped up with the way the rules are.
Weird. In fact, I had a client that just got their interview, and it was a fiance visa, and the person they were engaged to had three children, and one of them was turning 21 in December.
Mm-hmm.
And I did when I get the interview, I do always a prep, right? I do a meeting, and they're like, oh well, they said off the cuff, well, she's not going to come, this year. She might come next year. I'm like, wait a second, that girl needs to if she wants to be a resident, she needs to get into the United States before she turns 21. Then she can adjust status, and then if she needs to go back.
Yeah.
But they had no idea that their family would be separated, because if that was a mother that's coming in and she's going to adjust status, and the child is over 21, then the wait time is so long.
Yeah.
I said, you're going to be separated from that child for like 7 years.
Yeah.
If they wait and she doesn't come in when she's under 21. Mm-hmm. And so this is why you need a good lawyer. This stuff that we're talking about, it may be boring people to hell, but the reason why we're talking about it is because this is what we do as lawyers.
Yeah, it's life-changing, because I have a case, for example, where a woman got a green card based on marriage U.S. citizen, and she turned around and applied for her son herself. But she was a green card holder. It took forever. The stepdad could have filed and got it done. So by the time the I-130 is approved, President Trump came and did a travel ban for the Iranian client. So the guy had to wait, and it's been like something that should have been done in like probably 18 months. It's been 7-8 years now. So this guy's been waiting for his chance to come to America. He's in administrative processing now. So he's like, he can't get his life started in the home country. He's got to wait to come here. Mom's heart is broken. She didn't see her son, or she sees him, but like she hasn't lived with him or been in the U.S. for almost all his 20s. It really destroyed a family just waiting there. So it's technical stuff. It's just his law, and it's unfortunately designed this way. And there's a million and one reasons it's designed this way. But at the end of the day, when you're dealing with human beings, there's so many variations and complications that come up. You really need to study each one strategically. And I've started calling my consultation sessions strategy sessions, because you got to really strategize what makes sense, what doesn't. Like I'm talking with the fiance visa, for example, strategize. Right now, today doesn't make sense for most cases to do fiance visa, but maybe 2 years from now it will. So we got to see what's going on at the time and what country you're from. You might be from a country that's going to be easier to do it than others. And so just, you got to strategize. It's your life. And frankly, it's best really to multiple lawyers, really, not just one.
You have 3 kids. Mm-hmm. You have 3 kids, right, John?
That's correct.
All of the pregnancies with your wife and their deliveries were different. And I have 3 kids too. That's what I tell my clients. Yeah. It may seem the same, but it's different for every single client.
Yeah. Yeah, every case is different. And you think like you did a million I-130s, you've got a million immigrant visas. Every time I deal with the embassy is different. And it kind of drives me crazy at this point, because I'm like, why can't they create a consistent system? But every time we go, they'll ask for another document they haven't asked before. They'll ask for it a certain way they haven't. They'll like approve the case but not send the passport out. Like some embassies, I could keep going on how this treated differently. So you have to have someone who's strategic and also who's going to be by his side to deal with the fact that every day the rules are different, policy changes, president changes, the embassy ambassador changes, the way they do things change every hour, it seems. So it's like you got to be on top of it and have an advocate.
Yeah, I have this great book from Ayla. It's the Consular Processing Handbook.
Yeah.
And it's like it's amazing. But I'll read that, but then I'll go on and do more research because everything is different.
Yeah. You know, I recently had it was a fiance visa where my client really wanted to do it, and he talked me into it. I regret it now, but it went to the embassy, and the country the foreign national is from doesn't need police certificates because they don't accept it from that country. But the embassy's like, no, we want it for you. And so they had to go and get one, which took an extra 3 weeks of time. And I told them not to, and they had purchased their flights to the US already, expecting to get approved immediately. But I emailed back and forth and say, listen, look, the Department of State, your website says you don't need police certificates from this country. Why are you asking for it? And they're like, this is what we're asking for. And so it's like, we have no power in that situation. We just got to do what they do. And that person had to reschedule a flight. They probably lost $1,000 on that. And it was super frustrating to deal with that. I know what the rules are, but sometimes the rule is whoever's making the rules, whoever the referee is, they're going to make a decision. And that's another part of immigration law. That's frustrating.
Yeah, that's when you can't fight City Hall. It's like if they request it, the whole point of it is you might as well just give it to them, because at that point you're not going to make them convince them otherwise.
Yeah.
And that's where my philosophy is. Okay, if that's what they want, they're nuts. They don't require it, but I'm going to do it because what's the point in fighting it?
Yeah.
You're never going to change. You're never going to change it.
Not at all. And I have clients like, let's sue them and stuff. It's like, first of all, you can't even sue them, practically speaking, but let's say they would. That's another 6 or 9 months and $5,000 to $10,000 of waste. Just get the document, and it is what it is. It's a hit you got to take. But Gloria, thank you so much for coming on. I got to head out myself. Usually the show ends at 5:30, but I've had so much fun with you. Could you plug your channel? So, because like you do more videos than I do and more lives than I do. So anyone who watches this definitely wants to watch you as well, because you're a great immigration lawyer. I do recommend you. What's your channel's name?
It's immigration_queen. So I am the immigration queen.
Wonderful.
And I started TikTok 3 years ago. But I love what you're doing, John. You're a great lawyer, and anyone that's on this page should hire him. And if you don't want him, you can call me. I don't care.
Thank you, Gloria.
I just want you as a potential client to make sure you get a lawyer, because it's worth the money, and we're both good lawyers, and it will save you as a potential client the living hell and headache and delays. Yeah,
for sure. Hey, Gloria, you got to come on my podcast, the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox podcast. So I'm still waiting. The invitation is still out there. I'll send a Calendly links for you to up on my notes so that you can book one. Where should I write my notes? But
I hope you have a great night. Nice to see everyone on this page, and talk soon.
For sure. Bye, everybody. Thank you, Gloria. Talk soon. Bye.